not have an income, because then my family will be hungry, and that's not good. So financial institutions that make loans have to get an income. They do it for interest. So the question then is, well, why are interest rates so high? And I'm going to give you a few different reasons. One is that a lot of times our partners have to do a lot of work to collect loan repayments. So for example, if I'm a borrower in rural Peru, then the people who give my loan might have to travel 2 hours over 4 roads to get out to me and come back. So we need to cover that expense. Another really technical reason, so I'll give it to you, you can explain it later, is that we disperse all our loans in American dollars, but they often go to the people in the local currency. And so there's currency inflation issues, so they have to be able to cover the inflation. Okay. So there's a lot of reasons that interest exists. And I think that the important thing that we look at is we only work with partners that have much lower interest rates than whatever the going rate is from like loan sharks in the area. Okay. And even though the rates look high compared with an American market, they're pretty low compared with the place where we're doing this.
That makes sense.
Yeah. The other thing is that we are looking into partner-to-partner zero interest loan strategy.
Yes, I read a little bit about that.
But right now it's just not the most effective way to reach people in Cameroon or Chile or whatever. Sometimes we just really need our partners. So that's what's going on there.
Great, thank you for that. How about Cameron in the back? You had a question earlier, right? Cam, you have a question?
I was just gonna ask, are there multiple Kiva mini quarters in other countries?
I think what you asked earlier was if there's headquarters, how does the money actually get down into that field? Are there smaller? They were calling them little stores earlier. Are there smaller little sub headquarters places?
Yeah, so every time that you make a loan on Kiva, it goes through one of our partners. And that's not a Kiva headquarters at all. Kiva, like I said to one of your classmates earlier, we're just in San Francisco and Nairobi. But we've got partners who are little banks, or sometimes they're schools, or other institutions that are doing the lending, and they're their own business. They are groups that we work with, but they're not part of Kiva. Does that make sense? Yes. So let's say that you live in, let's say you lived in Cameroon and that you owned a bank and you wanted to be able to make loans to poor people, but you didn't have enough money to make loans to poor people. But you're your own bank. You've maybe been in business for 20 years. You could apply to Kiva and say, hey, I'm a bank in Cameroon. I would really like to be able to make loans to poor people. Can we help you? And then we could partner with your bank. Yeah? Does that answer your question?
Yes. Any other questions in the background? Oh, this is Lauren. Can you slide over just a teeny bit? Can you go this way?
Okay. Hey, Lauren, what's up?
Hi, I just had a question. If Kiva had any actual fundraisers itself, if they made any fundraisers to donate money to other countries.
Oh, interesting. No, really the way that, there are a lot of Kiva employees who make loans as individuals, right? Like I lend just as Sharon. But Kiva does not make loans. One of the things that we think is really important as an organization is that everybody who's a lender on Kiva kind of gets to make their own decisions. We do fundraise for ourselves. So we've got to keep our office open. We have to pay for the space that we work in and the electricity that we use and the equipment that we use. So we fundraise for ourselves. But the lending is entirely done by by our lenders, people like you guys.
Any other questions? I got your Wesley, now you're all set. Okay, go ahead, Liv, one more.
How is when we donate money online to Kiva, how does it get to Africa or to Peru or to Armenia?
Yeah, a good question. So the first thing is I think it's important to distinguish between donating and lending. So donating is when you give money away and it's gone, right? Lending is when you give money to somebody for a certain amount of time, but you expect them to give it back. So what you guys were doing wasn't donating. What you were doing was lending. And what we do is we use electronic money transfer things. So, for example, do you guys know what PayPal is?
Yeah.
Yeah, so PayPal is how you got your money. If we're working with other organizations in the United States, places that use PayPal, we just give them the money through PayPal because PayPal has a really good free agreement with us. It doesn't charge us, which is awesome. PayPal is mostly kind of expensive to use, but because we're a nonprofit organization that they like, they don't charge us. When we're working in Kenya, there's a very similar program to PayPal called M-Pesa, and M-Pesa is just like PayPal. It's electronic money transfer, but it works in Kenya. When we're working with any other partner that's not in Kenya or a place where we can use PayPal, it's possible to do what's called wiring money. So wiring money just means two banks have a relationship with each other, and they kind of electronically say, okay, I'm going to send this much money to you. And there's a cost for doing that, which is why we prefer to use M-Pesa or PayPal. One of the things that we do, though, is we try to keep the money that flows back and forth as low as possible. So let's pretend that you're a partner, like you're that bank in Cameroon you were talking about a little while ago. Well, if you post loans, Kiva fundraises and would send you money, but then you would collect your payments for borrowers and send it back to us, right? So there'd be money going both ways all the time, yeah? One of the things that we do is every month we add up all the money that Kiva should send you, and we add up all the money that you should send to us, and we look at those two numbers. And we only have money go in one direction. So if it turns out that this month we owe you more, then we'll send you money. If it turns out that you owe us more, you'll send us money. But we don't actually send all of the repayments. We just kind of work it out like on a worksheet. And that keeps down the amount of wire transfers we have to do, and it makes it cheaper for everybody.
Sharon, one other thing was the kids had talked about, what about a real life story? Do you have any real story you can share with them about someone that whether you might know of or maybe somebody, a friend of yours that works within Kiva has gone down to the field that you could share?
Yeah, so my friend Jessie, who I work with on the Kiva U program, before she came to Kiva, she worked with an organization called Nuru, N-U-R-U, and that's an organization that Kiva is a partner with in Kenya. So she lived in a small village in Kenya for I think about a year and a half, maybe 2 years, living just in a village. It was a very small village where they had to walk several miles for their water, they didn't have electricity, so really a pretty primitive village where she lived. And this was just after Nuru had started partnering with Kiva, and so she was watching people take loans. And she said that there was one gentleman in the village, and he had 6 children. And when she first came to the village, he could only afford to send 2 of his children to school because schooling was very expensive. Families had to pay for it. It's not like in the United States or Canada where the government provides education for students. And he took a loan to buy a sewing machine. He was a tailor, and he had been doing his tailoring by hand. So he bought a sewing machine with his loan. And over the time that Jessie was living in that village, by the time she left, he was able to send all 6 of his children to school. Just because the sewing machine made him able to do his tailoring so much faster, it made him a better tailor. And he was able to pay back the entire loan and send all of his kids to school. So they really do make a difference in people's lives. Yeah.
That's an excellent story.
Just a sewing machine.
Just a sewing machine. Just share $25 in a sewing machine. Think about that, right? That was amazing. Is there any other questions? Because I don't want to keep sharing too long. One more, Alicia.
You said that people's stories are, it's only on for 30 days. So yesterday we loaned to someone and it said that it would take 3 years for them to pay back.
It was somebody in India, right?
What's the maximum year that
That's a good question. So those are 2 different questions. When I said 30 days, that's how long we give it to fundraise on Kiva. So it has 30 days to make sure that enough lenders give it the money. And then if it expires after that 30 days, we say to the partner, we're really sorry, we can't fund this loan. We're happy to fund other loans for you, but this one didn't fund it in 30 days. But you're asking about how long we let borrowers have to pay back loans. And that is really, really dependent on what the borrower needs. So we have some loans that will pay back like that. They'll pay back in 5 months. So maybe if, like if you're a farmer and you take a loan at the beginning of your planting season to buy seeds, well then you're going to plant your seeds and you're going to grow whatever, your corn, let's say. And then it takes the corn maybe 5 months to grow, and then the corn will harvest it, you'll sell it, and you'll pay it back, and it only takes you 5 months. But some people take loans for things where, like, maybe you take a loan because you want to be a taxi driver. So you take a loan to buy a car. Well, that might be a loan for thousands of dollars, and you're just not going to earn that money back in a few months. So we might give you 3 years to pay back the loan for your taxi. And that's not a decision that Kiva makes. That's a decision that our partners make. So these are the banks and the organizations that are on the ground. The longest loans like Kiva are much longer than that. We have some loans that are like for 12 years, and those are loans mostly that are for education loans. So this would be people who are paying to go to college or to university. And then we say, we know that going to university will help you get a much bigger income in your life. But you're not going to be able to pay it back when you're 19 or 20 years old. You might have to work for many years before you can completely pay that loan back. And that's probably going to be true for a lot of you. I bet in a lot of your families when you go to college. That's not an if, by the way, when you go to college. You will probably take out a loan, and you'll probably take many years to pay it back. So we like to do the same thing for our borrowers.
Excellent. I guess off of that, I have one more question, so I'm going to slide it this way.
Okay.
So let's say that yesterday, if I'm correct, when you say that if the loan doesn't get completely filled in the 30 days, I guess what happens to the loan? Do they get a portion of what was raised? No. So what happens if you lent to that lender $25, $50? Where does that money go then?
It goes back into your account. You get an email that says, you know, your loan to Maria in Ecuador has been refunded and credited to your account.
Oh.
And then you can lend it out again.
Okay, great. Well, I think we've taken up enough of your time. You've been so wonderful to spend time with us. I guess the kids are going to show you just a couple of those pictures. If you want to see their artwork, you have to do it near them so that she can see it.
You angle it up. Oh, I see. Yeah, got it.
So they created artwork. Yep, they created artwork. It goes out and it's placed on products like T-shirts, backpacks, water bottles. They sell those products and we make a profit off of it, and that's how we funded our loans.
That is so awesome. I love it. Oh, with the peanuts. I want that one. We're going to sell these things. I'm going to buy them.
There you go. We're going to hit you up next year. Wait, that one ain't going to get it. Oh, there goes one.
Oh, there's mine.
Awesome.
So it's all about social responsibility, what they thought it would look like, and they just kind of put it to art.
That is phenomenal. Guys, do you have like electronic versions of these images?
I actually on my wiki space I have some from last year, which a lot of them kind of mimic last year, so I could send that to you. That'd be great.
Please send that to me. I would love to be able to look at those more closely later.
Great.
Cool. I had a phenomenal time talking with you. I'm so proud of the work that you've been doing. It's really awesome. And one of the things that I think is especially important is that you guys are, what, 6th grade?
Yes.
6th grade? So I know that because you have this experience now, this is something you can kind of keep in your mind. So even though you're not going to be in the same class next year, I want you to keep thinking kind of every year, what are things that I can do, whether it's to help end poverty or any other cause that's important to you. Something that's really kind of special in the world today is we have more opportunities than we have ever had to reach out and to help other people. There's so much technology that can help us. There's so many systems, so many organizations. And if we all just kind of put our minds to it, think, what can I do? What do I care about? And how can I help improve the world? There's a lot of opportunities. So I want you to take this and run with it. And I am so confident that 15 years from now, one of you is going to have opened the next Kiva. Whatever that is, you're going to come up with a solution. That's something you have the power to do. So I'm really excited to have met you this morning.
Thank you so much for spending the time with us. Bye-bye.